Good evening, Bloomfield. Welcome to the Town of Bloomfield Public Health, Public Safety and Environment Committee meeting. It is 6:05 and we do call this meeting to order. Thank you everyone for in the room and online for joining us. My apologies, I am remote today. Ms. Rogers, if you could help monitor the room as well as the agenda and hands that I cannot see, that would be greatly appreciated.
No problem.
Okay, and from what I can see, as far as roll call, we have myself, Councilor Mahan, Councilor Cooper, and unless he joins a little bit later, I did hear from Councilor Oliver, who was unable to attend today. All right, and so the first agenda item, discussion and possible action regarding a new town ordinance, Chapter 19, Traffic, Article 6, Oversized Vehicle Traffic. This has been going on for a long time coming. Thank everyone in the room for their hard work. I do believe we have representatives of our town attorney or his office online. If we have that language so that we can present it here, that would be great.
It's currently showing on the screen as Chapter 19, Traffic, Article 6, Oversized Vehicle Traffic.
Okay, thank you. And if we could have the town attorney speak to this, I know that this has been being worked on for quite a while. If we could high level cover this article so that the public is aware of what we've been working on. And
Was that Rita?
we
Sure.
have somebody talking, I'm not sure who.
That's me, Ashley Moore.
Okay, all right, okay. I just heard background, I'm sorry. So I'm looking for the document again. Let me see if I can get that back up. Okay. Attorney Moore, I'll give you the floor in 1 minute, but this has been a long time coming. We thank everyone who worked on this, most and particularly the residents that drove this initiative, as had been conducted in other areas of town where we had significant concerns over traffic, oversized vehicles, speed, and other traffic issues. So we appreciate all the hard work, the collaboration that made this come to fruition. And Attorney Moore, if you could high level and go over this ordinance change, that would be greatly appreciated.
Yep, absolutely. So this is a pretty straightforward ordinance, which basically restricts vehicles weighing over 14,000 pounds from certain roads. Currently in this ordinance, the only road mentioned is Burr Road. If at some point in the future, the town decides that it is in the best interest of the town to restrict other roads, those can be added. This ordinance includes both vehicles and anything that is being towed or hauled by those vehicles. It is a combined weight ordinance. And the purpose here is really, to restrict traffic, but predominantly to restrict traffic that can be harmful to the neighborhood and the quality of the roads. So this is an ordinance that allows the town to really look at a multitude of factors when determining when it may be appropriate to restrict vehicles in excess of 14,000 pounds. And
Okay,
just to
and
clarify, because I think this might be a question that will come up.
Mhm.
If there are, because this ordinance restricts a specific road, if there are currently vehicles that are owned, for example, commercial vehicles owned by a business already existing on the road, it will not impact that. This does not take vehicles away from anyone. What this does is restrict use of outside vehicles, and it also prevents new vehicles in excess of the weight from being brought in for new businesses, for example, for anything that's not existing at the moment. It's a future ordinance, but it doesn't take anything away that currently exists.
Okay, Attorney Moore, thank you for that clarification. You did go out for a few seconds there, but I believe you
Oh, I
may have
apologize.
recapped what went out. Yeah, so you did answer a question. I was gonna say, well, what do we do when we come to another juncture where we have another area? Because there are a few other areas consistently that the police department does proactive motor vehicle enforcement, for example, based on similar complaints that emanated from Burr Road, Maple Avenue area. So that was the question. What do we do when we have another area that may be in need of utilizing this ordinance? I believe you answered that question.
Yep, so that would be another discussion. It would be an amendment to the ordinance to add a new road, a new public hearing for each road to be added.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have any questions or comments in the room?
Yeah, well, I would say.
Any questions or comments in the room?
No.
Okay, do we have any questions or comments online? I'm looking for hands. Counselor Mahan, Counselor Cooper.
Well,
So, go ahead.
the only thing that comes to mind is, I know this is regarding Burr, but not Maple. Was there any specific reason why Maple wasn't pushed forward? Was this the recommendation of the coalition that formed, or was the decision on Burr instead of Maple instead of both a decision that was made by the town? How did I guess this come to be in the final iteration of this proposal?
So I can speak a little bit to that. Maybe someone else can explain more fully, but from my understanding, there are different types of calming measures that are going to be occurring on Maple. That was one major reason. But additionally, because we're talking about an oversized vehicle ordinance, one thing to consider is the capacity of the road. And it's also my understanding that perhaps Maple might not be a good candidate for such a restriction because it's a larger road from my understanding. But maybe someone can expand on that. But from my understanding, it's a combination of the quality of the road as well as additional calming measures being taken on Maple. And it was also brought up that if Burr Road is restricted, just based on the traffic routes through the town, that would allow for additional calming on Maple by default.
Which is, I can understand that explanation, Attorney Moore, because Burr does culminate down on Maple, and you can only go right or left. So that does make sense. Chief, would you be able to give a little more color as to why Burr only in the language for Councilor Mahan?
I believe as Attorney Moore stated, it had to do with there was already a plan in place for Maple Avenue. But I know that those discussions on Burr Road took place between the town manager and Public Works. I was brought in later to discuss enforcement efforts and to discuss the weight limit on trucks. So I would have to defer to Dan Carter on the exact reason why Maple Avenue is not included in that.
Okay, and
Thank you.
he's not here, so Councilor Mahan, just for your
Chief,
edification, did you want me to reach out to Dan to try to get that answer for you?
I think Attorney Moore did a pretty good job of laying it all out there. So thank you very much, and Chief for your additional answer. Chief, you mentioned a little bit on enforcement. What does enforcement look like from your end?
Well, if the ordinance is passed restricting a particular vehicle, in this case, vehicles that exceed a particular weight limit, what we've done in the past and what I would advocate for is to post those limitations for 30 days, approximately 30 days ahead of time. The last time when we did it on the tractor trailer restriction, we did it with the large digital signs as well as permanent signage on the street to give people advance notice that the ordinance is going into effect. The recommendation on this ordinance that I made was to make it a state infraction so that it had more teeth.
Mhm.
So that we could get some more enforcement on that. Once it's posted, and then after 30 days or around that time period, Attorney Moore may be able to clarify that better. we would go out for a period of 2 to 4 weeks and give warnings. It's typically what we've done in the past to motorists who are exceeding the weight limit, informing them that the signage has been up, that they're in violation. Then after that period, after I call that kind of a grace period, we would begin enforcement with full citations. Now, listen, I've talked about our limited manpower, and certainly we're going to be limited with the upcoming budget as far as overtime expenditures, et cetera. So we'll do our best to do that enforcement out there and make sure that we try and enforce the will of the residents and the council. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, yes, it definitely did. I'm sorry. I just have
No worries.
one more my part. I was trying to find the unmute button.
Yeah.
So the other question that I have is I guess this is for Attorney Moore. I do think it's pretty helpful to have that 30-day period of the signage and so on and so forth before it goes into effect. Does this once I know we're voting to recommend this to the full town council. Once the town council votes on it, and if it's approved by the town council, when would it take effect? Does it take effect immediately? Do we have to specify a specific day, or specific day that it goes into effect? What do you think, Attorney Moore?
I believe, and I can double check this, but I believe it's 30 days. But I also just want to clarify, it still does have to go to public hearing.
Okay, there we go. So there's a little bit more time. I'm speaking more so on the, because the chief mentioned the signage, and I think that's very important because we don't want folks don't want to violate the law, and they do need adequate warnings to make sure that they adhere to the law. And we want to make sure that we're fair to them as well before we begin to get to the point of penalization for violating. So I do like the plan that you've outlined, Chief. Attorney Moore, if you're saying, if it takes 30 days to go into effect from the point of us voting on it, then that sounds good to me. If you're saying we don't need to specify that as of, for example, August 2025, this goes into effect, then I'm fine.
Yeah, I believe for ordinances, once it goes through this committee, town council, public hearing, then town council approves it. Then I believe it will go into effect within 30 days. However, if you wanted to push that out and have it go into effect at a future date, if you wanted 60 days, you could have it go into effect later. But I believe also that even once it goes into effect, and perhaps the chief can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe that there's some discretion in strict enforcement. I believe that there can be a ramp up period even after it goes into effect in terms of public knowledge and, maybe a little discretion in citations.
Yeah, I think that's what the chief outlined there. Our residents our neighbors over on Maple and Burr have been very patient. So I'm hoping we could move forward, but also those that will be in violation of this future policy if it goes through. I just want to make sure that we're being fair to them as well. So thank you very much for your answers, and Chief, thank you as well for your answers. Todd has had his hand up for quite some time, so I'll stop there.
Counselor Cooper.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I can appreciate that, we are looking at this in a cautious manner for those who may violate the law. But I also want to say that I don't believe that our residents who have patiently waited and advocated very strongly for these measures to be taken should wait any longer. I think that we should push this up to the council, that we should have a vote on it and get it moving as fast as possible. There are those who are, I'm sure, on the line who are listening saying, you know, why are we delaying this any further? And I would like to be an advocate for them. I live in that area. So I'd also, full disclosure, I'd also like to advocate that we push this up to the council, get it on the books. And a lot of work has gone into this by many, many people, including the residents, including partners and stakeholders, the state of Connecticut, as well as the town of Bloomfield and our police departments and public works. So let's, hopefully get their work to a finished state. And we can maybe have a vote. So, thank you.
Thank
I-
you, Councilor Cooper.
I
Councilor
just
Mahan?
want to, I just want to clarify. I'm not advocating that we wait any longer. Or I literally said the residents have waited very long. They've been very patient. So I just want to make that clear, just in case Councilor Cooper may have misunderstood and as a result misconstrued my statements. That's not what I'm advocating for. I'm just trying to
Councilor Mahan?
understand how,
Councilor Mahan?
if I
Councilor
may
Mahan?
finish, Councilor Cooper.
No, because I didn't
If I-
misconstrue. I
Okay.
wasn't addressing you.
Okay.
I was addressing
Okay.
the issue. Please remove yourself from that and we can both look at the issue. I understand, where you're coming from and thank you for your comments, but no, please
Councilor
don't place
Cooper.
that.
Gentlemen, point
I-
of order. Gentlemen,
Thank you.
point
Thank
of
you
order,
so much.
I
please.
had the floor, Madam Chair.
Okay, but there's talking over you and over talking. So there's a point of order for everybody. You may finish your statements, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I would hope that, in future situations when if someone has the floor, and there's that interruption that's made, that we try to catch it when it begins. I had the floor and I had to yield to someone that was overstepping
And
on my time,
so,
but
right.
I'll leave it there, Madam
Okay,
Chair.
thank
Madam
you.
Chair, point of order. You hadn't called on Councilor Mahan to speak again. And so he did not have the floor and he is incorrect in what he just stated.
Okay, well, at this point, I'm going to wrap up the comments if the councilors are done. To your point, Councilor Mahan, I'm sure there would have been a swifter response had any of us been in the room, so as to have better order. So I don't have the same eyes that I normally have, but thank you for your commentary on that. I hope that we can all, moving forward, when we're in the room, most particularly, conduct ourselves in a way that we're not over talking and abiding by our time and recognizing who is on the floor and making their comments properly in order. So thank you for that comment. I appreciate it. So this is all about Chapter 19, Article 6. Do I have a motion from anyone to take this up to full council on the upcoming June 23rd council meeting?
So move.
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. The motion carries. Thank you guys for your input, both of you gentlemen, as well as Chief and Attorney Moore. We really appreciate it. And as well to the residents, thank you so much for your hard work, your diligence, and your consistency on addressing this issue. We have other areas that are in need and concern of the same issues, but thank you guys for continuing to push the needle, stay consistent, and work with the staff to come up with what we believe now to be an ordinance that will help you mitigate some of those traffic concerns on Burr Road and where they may exist in other areas. Thank you for clarifying, Attorney Moore, that we may be able to add other areas in the same fashion in the future. So thank you guys all for your hard work on this matter. Much appreciated. And as we move on, Chief My apologies. I know there was a snafu with your communication. If you're not ready for a report out, we can move on to the fire department updates.
I can give you kind of a modified report. I just didn't have time last minute to put together a full report, if that's okay.
That is okay, and thank you, because it's not any offense taken for the public. This was rescheduled last week. Our usual meeting was canceled because of the high school graduation. Congratulations to the class of 2025. So no harm, no foul, Chief. If you have a report out, my pen is ready, and I'm sure the public is as well. Thank you.
So the crime stats, I couldn't populate the entire chart, but basically we're up for the month of May, but we remain down 20% year to date on crime offenses. We still have 4 police officer vacancies at the police department. We are recruiting, but as I've told the committee in the past, unfortunately, the candidate pool continues to shrink, not just Bloomfield, but the profession at large. So we are fortunate, though, that we have 2 officers who are in the final phase of their field training. They have only a week or so left. They're both doing very well. So we're hopeful they'll be joining us on their own this month. We have 2 recruits in the police academy. They're both in what we call a satellite academy at Post in New Britain. The reports are that they're doing very well. We had, from a traffic statistic perspective, we had 50 accidents on local roads in Bloomfield in May. Officers conducted 247 motor vehicle stops and made 4 driving under the influence arrests. They also conducted 145 motor vehicle details. So they have been active. The primary location, they're active throughout town. The areas that we're giving additional attention, Maple Avenue and Burr for speeding, which we just talked about. They conducted 26 motor vehicle details and 30 motor vehicle stops in May. Wintonberry Avenue for speeding complaints from local residents. They conducted 14 motor vehicle details and 16 cars were stopped. And Brown Street at Mills Lane for speeding and stop sign concerns during commuting times. 8 motor vehicle details were conducted there in the last few weeks, and 10 motor vehicle stops were conducted by officers. There was 1 complaint that we received from the Board of Ed about an officer's conduct. The town manager and I have spoken with all the parties involved, including the officer, the school superintendent, Principal White, and we believe the issue is resolved now. We're moving forward. We still have what I consider a very positive relationship between the Board of Ed and the police department. We hope to continue building on that as we go forward. We had 1 use of force. Officers responded to a larceny complaint. They located the subject outside of the business. The subject initially gave a false name and date of birth to officers and indicated that she was an adult. The subject resisted the officers as they attempted to take her into custody.
Good, man. How are you?
Excuse me. One of the officers drew his taser and pointed it at the subject, giving her verbal commands. The subject was then taken into custody without further incident. The use of force did result in minor bruising to the police officer's arm, and all the use of force was reviewed and was in compliance with our policy and state statute. So the mental health clinician has been very active. That has still been a very, very positive addition to the police department, and has helped significantly reduce our officer use of force incidents, which, as I explained in the past, primarily dealt with people suffering from mental and emotional emergency incidents. So we contacted the mental health clinician on 17 separate calls for service over the month of May, made a number of referrals, and continue to enjoy that program very much. From BVA, I don't have your typical update that was sent in to the town manager as part of the coordinator's monthly update. I can tell you that there's been a change in leadership there. Sergeant Zach Klomberg, who all have come to one of the meetings to introduce himself to all of you. He is the BVA coordinator now, replacing Ellen White, who served for many years with outstanding service to the community. Zach's going to be doing a little bit different role that we kind of are revisiting that we had in the past, and he'll be splitting some of his duties between BVA coordination and acting as the town's emergency management director. He has extensive service and experience with EMS services and advanced life support services. He was sworn in last week as the town's emergency management director, and he'll be working with both Captain Hydash, Lieutenant Salvatore, and myself on ensuring that he comes up to speed on his new duties. Really glad to have him in that position, and I think we're going to find him to be an outstanding addition to BVA. That's all I have for my report.
Thank you very much. Any questions in the room? Any questions online?
Well, that's a successful report when there's no questions.
Wait, I'm sorry. I have one question.
Not too
Okay.
successful.
And let me, just so you know, Councilor Mahan, I'm swiping where you can see the gallery. And for some odd reason, when you were not hand raised, you didn't even pop up on my screen. So my apologies. If I don't see a hand, just for me, okay?
No problem. No
Thank you.
problems.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, you've always been very fair to me.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if this may applies to this report, this month's report, or next month's, but there was an incident with a resident concerning the town manager. I'm not sure. Would it be more appropriate to ask my questions next month or this month?
You can go ahead and ask, as long as I can answer it.
Okay. I just when there are complaints from a resident regarding members of staff, more specifically the town manager, what is the typical response? What does the typical response look like from our police department? And then I have a follow-up question afterwards.
Well, so
And then, I'm sorry, just one question.
Sure.
Today being I don't even know, I'm away, so 16th, 17th. Quick question for you before you answer that, Chief. Was this incident reported in May or was it early June?
I believe it was June.
Okay, so that may address why you're asking Council Mahan, so because he's doing a May report out. So, but thank you for the question and my apologies. I just wanted to get a clarification on that, Chief. Please give Mr. or Councilor Mahan the answer to that question.
Yeah, so if I understood the question correctly, and please tell me or correct me if I didn't. Anytime a complaint is made to the police department, it's investigated. So in this case, we had a resident who came to the police department and made a complaint against, as you said, a senior town official. It was assigned to one of my police officers, as well as an officer who is in field training, one of the two officers that I described to you. They interviewed the individual, explained what the current law is regarding confrontation, threatening complaints. And then they proceeded to interview the parties that were involved in that complaint. At the end of the investigation, the investigating officer found that there were no violations of Connecticut general statutes. So they complete a police report. They submit it to their supervisor for review. In this case, the supervisor reviewed it as well as the patrol division commander. And the case was closed as a result. It was documented fully. And as you know, that case has been requested through Freedom of Information and was released just this past week.
Thank you, Chief. I appreciate that information. And Thank you, Counselor Mahan.
Madam Chair,
You have
may
a
I?
follow-up question?
I do. Thank you.
Okay.
Um, so thank you very much for that answer, Chief. Yeah, I do have my follow-up question is in regards to uh, conflicting information and interviews. Um,
Right.
how is that handled? I did review the tapes and I watched all of it, and there seemed to be conflicting information provided between the town clerk and what the town manager said and what the assistant to the town manager said. Seemed to be some conflict in terms of how the resident conducted themselves. The town clerk stated that the resident conducted himself very respectfully, and from what I know from this resident, he tends to conduct himself very respectfully, even in points of disagreement. And trust me, he has not agreed with everything that I've done. Um, Yet the town manager and assistant to the town manager stated that this person was irate, or the exact terms was, I think it was like a uh, loud or mean old man, or some mean small old man, or something of the sort was said during the assistant town manager and town manager's interview. What happens in situations when there's conflicting information given, like in terms of of accounts?
Right. Right. So, well, I hope you can appreciate in almost any investigation or any confrontation. Certainly, this was initiated preliminarily as a criminal investigation to see if there was a violation of Connecticut state statute. In any situation, everybody has a different perspective. Everybody sees things differently. What the officers are trying to do is gather information from the witnesses and those involved to see if there was a violation of law. In this case, the officers determined that there was no probable cause to believe that the law was violated. So what we do in that case is we just document everything. And as you know, there's now by state statute, there's body camera footage of everything that occurs, as well as the statements that the officers do their best to write down and try and capture the essence of the complaint and what people saw and what people perceived. Now, in every situation, people see things differently. You know, you can go to a domestic violence call and the person being assaulted potentially sees things one way, and the assailant many times will say, I didn't do anything. I didn't, I didn't do that. I didn't do this. So you always have different perspectives. The key here is to see if there was any violation of law. And in this case, there was not. And the incident was documented and is on file.
Thank you, Chief. And hold on, let me go back because you guys know I'm switching screens here from agenda back to our Zoom. Counselor Cooper, any commentary, any other questions online? Are there any questions in the room, Ms. Rogers?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you for the question, Counselor Mahan. And Chief, most especially, I appreciate your general understanding for the public's understanding of how an investigation is conducted. Where does it start? What's done during the course of it? What you're trying to seek out. So I appreciate that. Notwithstanding a bit more detail shared by Counselor Mahan, I think the essence is what happens when a complaint is made. And so you've made it clear that your job is to determine if there's any violation of Connecticut general statute.
That's
And so I
correct.
think you've well articulated that. And if there's any other questions, as I've said many times, I believe here in the subcommittee, as well as on town council meetings, if there's something the public wants to know and they uh, don't understand or want a little more context and color, freedom of information is always available. So if there's any other questions about that, they certainly can come to you, Chief, or as has already been done, receive a freedom of information. It's a very common practice that no one takes any exception to. So thank you guys both. And as we continue, let me pull up my handy dandy agenda again.
Thank you,
One
Chief.
moment.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Moving on, can we have a fire department update? I did see online, an update from Center Fire. Do we have someone in the room or online?
Yeah, hi, Chief Barnard here.
Thank you, Chief Barnard. My apologies. You have the floor.
That's okay, no worries. Thank you, appreciate it.
Thanks.
So I just want to state too that I did make a couple of additions to my report. There was a couple minor things that I thought was worth mentioning that I did not have on the original report, so I'm going to add those in.
Awesome.
So for the month of May, we responded to 45 calls for service. We had 3 motor vehicle accidents, pretty minor in nature. One on unauthorized burn, 2 water calls, broken pipes, et cetera, in a house. We also had a dual response to the Blue Hills District on May 6th to 580 Tower Avenue for an electrical odor in the building. The remainder of the calls were false alarms. The 2 additions I have are, we had 2 calls on May 29th, one of which was a reported car fire next to the garage on 17 Fox Chase Road. We ended up calling an engine from Blue Hills for mutual aid. We had a report from the police department, and I thank them for that the engine compartment was burning pretty good and that it was close to the garage. So that warranted starting an engine from Blue Hills just in case the fire had extended to the garage, which fortunately it did not. Also, on the afternoon of May 29th, we had a dual response, which brings both departments together for a report of a person lighting toilet paper on fire on the 2nd floor at 820 Park Avenue. That call ended up pretty much being unfounded, fortunately.
Mm-hmm.
As far as projects, the new firehouse at 360 Tungus Avenue, we've been open and running for a few months out of there. We're still adding final touches to the inside of the building. The open house was planned for June 7th and was well attended. We had a couple of very nice ceremonies throughout the day, and we served refreshments to all that joined us. Community involvement. We attended the Memorial Day ceremony at Mountain View Cemetery with our color guard and several members in uniform. I have to say that it's always a pleasure to march with the Bloomfield Police Department's color guard. It was nice to see a great showing of people from the community up there. We then marched together with the Blue Hills Fire Department in the annual Memorial Day Parade. And we were very proud, to say the least, to represent the war memorials at the town green at the ceremony afterwards. Our auxiliary hosted, they have the Cinnamon Buns trailer outside our new Company 3 firehouse. If anybody's been there, they know how delicious they are. That was at the end of May, and it was very well attended. As far as training, our training division is upholding our members to the highest standard of training and keeping on top of the latest classes, so we are prepared to serve the residents of the community in any emergency. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Thank you so much for what you guys continue to do to pour into our community on a daily basis, responding to calls, but as well, your involvement in the community, the extracurriculars, as I call it, as well as the police department, as well as Blue Hills Fire, who does the same. We really appreciate you guys' presence. It really makes it a special event when you guys come out, no matter what the event, even in recognition of those fallen who gave the ultimate sacrifice for our country. You guys make it very special, and we appreciate you. Thank you so much. I missed the
Thank you very
cinnamon
much.
bun truck. Thank you. And my apologies on June 7th. I believe I was out there on cleanup day getting high school prepared for graduation. So I missed your open house. I so apologize. At 10 o'clock, I was knee deep in wet grass and my trash bag, but you know what? I enjoyed doing that as well. That was also a wonderful event. Thank you so much, Chief. If we could move over to Blue Hills Fire, Chief Jones, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening, everyone. For the month of May, the Blue Hills Fire Department responded to 44 calls for service in which there are no major incidents in our district during that period. Most of the calls were activated fire alarms due to the alarm company working on the system, cooking or alarm malfunctions, motor vehicle accidents with injuries and fluids on the ground, and several natural gas odor calls. Blue Hills Fire Department did respond to Bloomfield Center Fire for one dual response and one mutual aid call, as Chief Barnard mentioned, for a vehicle fire next to a structure on Fox Chase Road. We did have an incident, a chemical incident on Old Pequannock Road that
Mhm.
did require the assistance from Yukon Health Center Fire Department with their hazmat unit. They were there to provide decontamination services for the DEEP team that entered the hot zone.
Hmm.
As I've been previously reporting, the new applicants continue to come in and show interest in joining our department. We have 10 volunteer firefighters who have signed up to take the next Fire 1 class in the fall. And we also have 2 firefighters who've enrolled in the Q2 class that the Suffield Fire Department is hosting. And once they successfully complete this Q2 class, that's one of the first steps for them to be able to drive fire apparatus. And I'll just run down some of the training that we did for the month of May. May 5th, we did a search and rescue training, which 23 members participated in. May 12th, we had instructors from CNG conducting various training evolutions and scenarios. 19 members participated. May 19th, we had a vehicle extrication, which 16 members participated. The Memorial Day Parade, 17 members participated. For community outreach, on May 12th, we participated in the Wittenberry Early Child Safety Day. There were 310 kids there. We handed out coloring books, fire hats, and pencils. May 17th, we participated at the First Cathedral Church Global 6K Walk for Water. Later on in the month, we attended the Riley Group Intern Program, which Deputy Chief Janai was one of their guest speakers. He spoke on careers in the fire service. We had a mock fire drill at the Crack River Autism School. And on May 29th, we paid our respects to one of our lifetime firefighters. His wife passed away. We went over to pay our respects over at the Carmen Funeral Home. And as you all know, we continue to put together the Juneteenth weekend that's coming up this weekend. So we hope everyone can come out and enjoy that. That pretty much concludes my report.
Thank you, Chief. If you have the information, on Juneteenth, Friday night is the kickoff, right?
Yes,
Location?
it'll be behind Blue Hills Fire, 1021 Blue Hills Avenue.
All right. And then Saturday is the parade kicking off
Saturday
at
is a
what
parade.
time? Yeah.
Yeah.
And what time are you kicking off at Cathedral?
Yes, at First Cathedral.
All right.
We're
And what time?
setting up 9 to 11. Parade will get off, step up around 11.
Okay. And then kind of a collective after the parade in the back of the firehouse,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay. And then Sunday, I'm sadly missing the vendors and
Yeah, the vendors and the craft fair.
craft fair. And what time, Chief?
That'll start around noontime.
Okay, I wanted to give particular attention to that since it's not a report from the past to make sure everybody was well reminded and know what and where. So thank you for that. Are there any questions for Chief Jones, Blue Hills Fire? Any questions in the room?
No.
Any questions online? There you go. Council Mahan, this is the weirdest thing. I literally just swiped my screen because you weren't there. So please, Council Mahan, take the floor.
It's like Houdini.
Yeah, exactly.
But not a question, but just a comment saying I'm very much looking forward to the Juneteenth celebration. It's always a great thing for the community that weekend. Bloomfield is definitely going to be a great place to be. So thank you very much for all your efforts putting together. I'm very much so looking forward to it.
Good, thank you.
And I am very much saddened that I won't be there because I'm out of town. The last few years have been incredible. I mean, just every day, what an amazing celebration. Bloomfield, if you hear me, do not miss the opportunity to come out for one or all of those 3 days for the Juneteenth celebration. Okay, and moving on to looking for my agenda again, people. Please give me a little latitude. My apologies. All right. Not sure if he's in the room. because it's very small, but we do have a written report submitted by EMS Chair Lou Bloomfield.
He's here.
For sharing that, Ms. Rogers. Thank you so much. It does not appear to be a lengthy report, but their last meeting was held on May 21st.
He's here, Cindy. He's here.
Oh, okay. I thought you said it's here, meaning the report. I do see it on the screen. Thank you so much, Mr. Bloomfield. Mr. Chair, please take the floor.
Thank you. I will try to be brief in summarizing. The last EMS committee meeting was May 21st. The standard review of BVA activities showed that BVA at the time was, as usual, running quite smoothly. There were a couple of items of special interest. We've heard a couple of them already. First, as I noted in the report, our longtime coordinator, Ellen White, we learned was retiring. And I would note, having been around since the inception of BVA, that Ellen was among the very best that we've had as coordinator. She will be missed, and we owe her very much for her above and beyond performance of the position. At the same meeting, we also were introduced to Sergeant Klomberg, the newly assigned coordinator, as Chief reported. We were introduced to him. We were pleased to learn of his extensive background in volunteer ambulance and related matters and his education in that area. We were very impressed with him and look forward to what he will bring to BVA. We applaud the choice of Sergeant Klomberg and look forward to working with him. The other report that we received is a little bit different. We were advised that the town finance director has determined that it's necessary for the town to report incentive payments to volunteer EMTs as income and to give them 1099 forms and to these volunteers. Though these are incentive payments that are given to volunteers to encourage them to work more shifts, which of course is to the town's benefit. Both in terms of service and in terms of income. The concern we have as a result of that is that this is effectively effectively a decrease in the incentive. So this is something that the committee thinks is necessary to take a look into to see if we can remedy the effect of this effective decrease. The committee will consider some options on how to do that, whether it's greater amounts and some different approach has not been determined, but we will report back on that through appropriate channels once we've got some recommendation. So more on that to come. That's about it. The next meeting of the EMS committee regularly scheduled is September 8th. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that report out. I was not aware of that impact to the incentive for volunteer ambulance workers. So I certainly look forward to what you guys come up with as you determine or strategize on determining how to decrease this amount, which is being taxed. And if you could please keep me in the loop, I would really appreciate that. I'd like to be abreast of these activities going forward. Much appreciated.
Certainly, thank you.
Okay, are there any questions? Any questions in the room?
No.
Okay, any questions online?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you have the floor.
Like you, Counselor Lloyd, this is the first time that I'm hearing of this, of the adjustment and how that incentive pay is being handled by the town. I think we should look at all remedies, including reversing that policy. And I would also like to hear the rationale from the town as to why that has been adjusted. Did they provide you with any rationale?
If I can answer that, what we were told is that the finance director had determined that that's what the law required. we're not challenging that. Assume that if that's what was concluded, there was a reason for it. We'll just look for ways to work around it. Hopefully the town will cooperate in what we can come up with, or what somebody else can come up with.
Mm-hmm.
I
Okay,
believe,
yeah.
if I could address the question.
Yes,
I
Chief, thank you.
I believe the concern from Mr. Hill, the finance director, sorry, the new term escapes me right now, was that IRS regulations require compensation in excess of $600 annually. I believe that's the number, be reported on a 1099, and that had not previously been done. And that it was his concern that going forward, the town had to abide by that policy.
Thank you for that clarification, Chief. Yes, Councilor Mahan, I'll be looking into it if you want to be CC'd, just so we can kind of go back and find out what happened with the incident, get a copy of the regulation per the IRS, just to put our eyes on it, and then hopefully be able to work with BVA to see how we can further incentivize these folks where they won't lose anything. I'm certainly welcome to circle you in. I think that we need to, just like the fire department, everything you guys do is for free. And we take nothing away from the police department, but you guys are really putting yourselves out there, helping people, pouring into the community, but also risking yourselves in a myriad of ways. And so if there's a way we can figure this out and remedy the reduction because of an IRS regulation, then I'm hoping we can find that remedy. So
Yeah.
thank you.
And if I may add, Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
I completely understand, if if we have to, of course, abide by an IRS regulation. So in that instance, we really can't avoid this situation. So I'm hoping that we can find a swift remedy, because as uh, as what was stated previously, it is a great benefit to our town, our community, for folks to take on more shifts. And if that extra money served as a bonus or incentive to get folks to take on more shifts, I mean, it sounds like something we may have to look into, so that that benefit isn't reduced for folks. So yes, I would be more than happy to be included if you can, Madam Chair, loop me in. I'd greatly appreciate that.
Okay, will do. Any other questions? Any other questions? Okay, we'll be moving on.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. One more question. My apologies.
You got.
Um, have we heard anything back on the bids for BVA?
I have not heard anything since we
Yes.
last met. Oh, thank you, Chief. Thank
Yes,
you.
the bid was awarded to the incumbent vendor, AMR. And the last I knew through Joe Maraca, our purchasing agent, the contract, I believe, has been signed and we are good to go.
Awesome. Thank you for that question, Councilor Mahan. Thank you
Do you,
for the update, Chief.
Thank you. I'm
just
sorry
to
that I
follow
forgot
up?
that. I was pulling my report together very quickly this evening, so I apologize.
No problem. Councilor Mahan.
No worries. Yeah, thank you very much for that answer, Chief. Do we know if the terms are more or less favorable than our previous arrangement with I mean, it's gone back to the incumbent. Are we under more or less favorable terms as a result?
That I don't recall. I'd have to report back on to you on that and get the numbers from Joe. I do know that AMR was the low bidder on in the RFP. And of course, we've had a long-standing and very positive relationship with them. So we're very excited to continue that relationship going forward. And I don't want to speak for the volunteers, but I think that they are and will be as well. So that's positive. Financially, but I would have to get you the numbers to be accurate. I don't want to answer without being spot on for you.
No worries. Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you both. And moving on, Conservation, Energy, and Environment Committee.
She's not here in person, but she did submit a report and I can share it if you would like.
Yes, if you please, Ms. Rogers. We'd just like to take a look at the report, do a quick overview, knowing that these materials are available through the town website, but we would like to peek at it. Thank you so much. Okay. Conservation, Energy, and Environment Committee report. They have highlighted several key events. May 17th, 12,000 pounds, 40 bins, and take two electronic batteries in the Shred Day, which is always popular, took place 2719 pounds. November 2nd, 2024, in comparison, was a little lower. On the recycled electronics and batteries, it was a little higher, but to date, we're still, as you can see, November 2024, May 2024, 23. This is an event that has become very popular. We appreciate that the town has the capacity to continue offering this as a benefit for our residents. It was held at Bloomfield High, May 17th, and it continues to draw large crowds. And for those who are watching, if you don't come early, the receptacles may get full. So going forward, please pay attention to those announcements. If you have things that need to be shredded, recycled, electronics turned in, and things of that nature. It's a very popular event and a very valuable service that we here in Bloomfield have afforded to us. And moving on, we're gonna go to upcoming events. June to October 2025, Trees for Bloomfield Photo Contest registration. We have August 6th with BPL webinar, 6:30 to 8:30. The dangers of extreme heat, which of course we are getting into that season, so that's going to be a very valuable event. The CEC members are planning a webinar. They thought it would improve the content to reflect the knowledge and perspective of emergency personnel. Lou Bloomfield, EMS Committee Chair, kindly connected CEC with the new Bloomfield Volunteer Ambulance Coordinator, Sergeant Zachary Klomberg, and who was very helpful. For more information and register for the webinar, there's a link, and this will be available as well online with materials from this meeting in full. The CEC meets the second Thursday of each month at 4:30 to 6:30, hybrid meeting format, so anyone can attend if you have electronic equipment, and we look forward to seeing you there. The next meeting is scheduled for July 10th, 2025. Are there any questions about the report? Okay. Thank you so much for Chair Jones for submitting that report. And I believe we do have a report from Amy Cross, Director of the West Hartford Bloomfield Health Department.
Yes, hold on.
Thank you so much.
It's on screen.
Thank you. So measles has been a continuing conversation over the last few months. Across the country, there have been some noted breakouts of measles. Fortunately, in Connecticut, as of last month, there were none. And if I'm reading, there's 3 confirmed deaths. Summer vacations and travel just around the corner. The district is going to continue to closely monitor this evolving situation. We're urging residents to ensure their vaccinations are up to date, especially if planning international or domestic travel. The health district does offer the MMR vaccine for adults and children if needed. So if you're determined that you need it from your doctor's office and maybe you can't get there, it takes sometimes a long time to get an appointment with a doctor, you can call the health department as well. So I do thank the health department for sharing that information, in particular, like she said, when you're traveling internationally. There's a map that gives us an idea of where the activity has been. And fortunately, in Connecticut, we do not have any incidents, but please do be precautious. Keep up to date with your vaccinations if you choose to do so. If you or your family chooses not to be vaccinated, just use your precautions and be smart about your travel so that you can stay healthy. I'm trying to see if there's anything else on that report, Ms. Rogers. All right, thank you. Some of the community initiatives, fall prevention and muscle strengthening, kicked off their ongoing fall prevention and muscle strengthening sessions on May 12th. Stay tuned for more opportunities to join those classes. I remember last month they had an interesting name, Fat Blaster or something. I don't know, I'm being funny, but it really wasn't. I asked about it because I'm like, yep, I can benefit from that. So do keep your eyes out if that's something you're interested in learning more about. Bloomfield and Windsor Youth Summit, they're proud to participate in the recent Youth Summit. They provided 6 scholarships for the Youth Counselor and Training Summer Camp Program. And Prevention Week was May 14th. They had a busy Prevention Week connecting with the community at multiple locations. They were at the Health Resource Fair. They had harm reduction materials and general health education resources at Capaco Plaza. And the staff was also at the food pantry pickup, providing health educational materials there. They're happy to announce they'll continue to be at that location moving forward. Upcoming events, the naloxone training is coming up. How to Save a Life. We're hosting naloxone training sessions at the district office on June 12th, which is just passed, and July 12th, 10th coming up. Um, the naloxone is available in many public buildings. The police have it. So it's a really important thing to apprise yourself. We have a lot of our residents and community, whether we're talking our Bloomfield or larger community, that are struggling with issues that we do have intervention for if they come upon an emergency situation. So that's a really valuable training, and we thank you for continuing to pour into the community with that information. The 3rd annual Cancer Prevention Fair is going to be taking place on July 31st. And that's at 330 Park Avenue and the Bloomfield Walking Club Partnership. Get ready to get moving. The staff is currently working to partner with Senior Services, Fantastic Monday Mornings Walking Club, and there'll be more in this collaboration in the future. I believe that ends the report for the West Hartford Bloomfield Health District. Is there anything I'm missing, Ms. Rogers?
No, ma'am, that's it.
Okay, are there any questions in the room about the Health Department update?
No.
Any questions online? Counselor Mahan, I don't see you. Raise
No
your hand
hands
if you're
this
still there.
time. No hands this time. I'm here still kicking.
Okay, all right, that's good. Thank you so much. Okay, let me see what we have for our last agenda item. We have public comments. Is there anyone in the room for public comments?
No.
Anyone online for public comments? Okay, before we move into the approval of minutes, do we still have Counselor Cooper on the line?
Yes.
Okay, great. Counselor Cooper, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, before we move into approval of the minutes, I just want to say thank you to everybody for your continued hard work, updating the public on what you have going on as far as your continued efforts to pour into the community and keep us all safe. We thank you so very much and can't praise you enough for the work you do. I wanted to There was another comment I wanted to mention. Also thanking everybody, although some of the residents, I'm sure they've reached out to me, but not in the room. That's why I asked for public comment. But we do thank them again for their hard work, their diligence, and their concerted efforts that helped us to come to this resolve. Without you residents, pushing the issues and staying connected with the community as well as the town hall and the services that we provide, we would not be able to come up with collaborative conversations that lead to results. So thank you again to the coalition. And do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Second, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the motion carries. Thank you all so much. My apologies for a little lag and delay here and there being remote, but I really appreciate you all and your support. And thank you again. The next meeting is going to be the 2nd Wednesday in July. Thank you all again. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you all. For those of you that are remote and traveling, have a safe ride home. And thank you to the listening public. Thank you, Bloomfield.
Thank you.